A 7-year-old girl sat alone in a waiting room, bleeding, for 45 minutes, and not a single adult moved. This is the story of what happened when her father walked through that door. Her name was Lily, 7 years old, light brown hair, and a deep cut on her right palm from falling off her bicycle that morning. Her nanny had dropped her at Hargrove Medical Center, a fancy private clinic in the middle of the city, the kind of place with cream walls and Wall Street, chairs, and a little bronze plaque near the door that said, "Excellence in Patient Care," before rushing off to deal with a family emergency. She promised to be back in an hour, so Lily sat there alone. She had wrapped her own hand using her cardigan, the way her nanny had shown her before leaving. The fabric was slowly turning dark red at the center. She held it gently against her chest and stared at the wall and tried very hard not to make a sound. There were 8 adults in that waiting room, 8 grown people. Every single one of them could see her. Every single one of them looked away. At some point, Lily got up and walked to the reception desk. The receptionist, Sandra, looked up at her with the kind of face people make when they've been interrupted from something important. "My hand hurts so much," Lily said quietly. Her voice cracked just a little at the end. Sandra told her to go back to her seat. There were other patients ahead of her, so Lily went back to her seat. She sat down. She looked at that bronze plaque again, "Excellence in Patient Care," and she decided right then that she was not going to cry in front of people who didn't care. She had been sitting there for 45 minutes. What nobody in that waiting room knew was that a black car had parked outside the clinic about 7 minutes earlier, and the man who stepped out of it was not there as a patient. Daniel Hargrove was 41 years old. He had built this clinic from the ground up 15 years ago. His name was literally on the building. He stopped by unannounced every few months because he believed in seeing things as they actually were, not the polished version people put on when the boss called ahead. He walked through the front door, and then he stopped, because there was a little girl sitting alone in an upholstered chair with a blood-stained cardigan wrapped around her hand, and her back was perfectly straight, and her jaw was set tight, and she was staring at the wall like she was trying to burn a hole through it. He looked at the reception desk. Sandra was typing. He looked at the waiting room. 8 adults, all looking at their phones. He walked straight to Lily and crouched down so his eyes were level with hers. "Hey," he said, "what happened to your hand?" She looked at him carefully. He wasn't wearing scrubs. He didn't look like a doctor, but his voice was calm and he wasn't in a rush and he was actually looking at her, which at this point felt like something remarkable. "I fell off my bicycle," she said. "Does it hurt?" "My hand hurts so much," she said, and her voice was completely steady. But her eyes went bright for just a second. Daniel stood up. He turned around and walked to the reception desk, and Sandra looked up, and whatever expression she had been planning to use disappeared the moment she realized who was standing in front of her. "Mr. Hargrove, that child," he said, and his voice was very quiet and very clear, "has been sitting in that chair for how long?" Sandra's mouth opened, then closed. "Approximately 45 minutes, sir. She was placed in the general queue. She is 7 years old. She is alone, and her hand is bleeding." He placed both hands flat on the counter. "Get Dr. Mara out here right now. Not in 5 minutes. Right now." Sandra was already reaching for the phone. He walked back to Lily and sat down in the chair beside her. Not crouching this time. Just sitting, like a normal person sitting next to another person. "Someone's coming to help you right now," he told her. "I promise." She studied him for a moment the way kids do when they're deciding whether to trust you. "Are you a doctor?" "No," he said. "Then how do you know they'll come?" "Because this is my building." Her eyes went a little wide. Then she looked at the bronze plaque, then back at him. "It didn't feel like that," she said. And that sentence, 5 plain words from a 7-year-old, hit him harder than anything anyone had said to him in years. "I know," he said quietly. "I'm sorry. That's gonna change." Dr. Mara came out at almost a run. She took one look at Lily's hand and brought her straight through to a treatment room. The cut needed 3 small stitches. Lily sat completely still through the whole thing, only asking once whether it would affect her piano playing. "It will still work perfectly," Dr. Mara told her. "Okay," Lily said with the kind of calm that made the doctor pause for a second. While Lily was being treated, Daniel was in the corridor going through sign-in logs, reviewing footage timestamps, writing things down. This was not a man who was going to forget what he had just seen by the time he got back to his office. When Mrs. Patel arrived, rushing and apologizing, she found Lily in the hallway with a neatly bandaged hand and a juice box one of the nurses had brought her. Daniel was a few feet away, just finishing a call. Before he left, he stopped at the reception desk one last time. He looked at Sandra. He looked at the waiting room. Then he said something that was not a threat and was not a speech. It was just the truth, said plainly. "Every person who walks through that door is someone's whole world. That is what this place exists for." If you can sit there and watch a 7-year-old girl bleed alone for 45 minutes and feel nothing, this is not the right place for you. No raised voice, no dramatic pause, just words, which is exactly why they landed the way they did. The whole room heard it, and the whole room felt it. On his way out, he stopped next to Lily one more time. "How's the hand?" he asked. She held up her bandaged palm. 3 stitches. "You were really brave today." She thought about that for a second. Then she said, "I didn't feel brave. I just didn't want to cry in front of people who didn't care." He nodded slowly. He didn't say anything to that. There wasn't anything to say. He got into his car, sat for a moment, and then made another call. Because there were changes that could wait until Monday. Staff reviews that could be scheduled. Memos that could be written. And then there were things that couldn't wait a single day. Here's what this story is really about, though. It's not just about one bad receptionist or one waiting room or one little girl. It's about something that happens everywhere, all the time, to people who don't have a billionaire father whose name is on the building. Most of them never get the 3 stitches when they need them. Most of them just sit there, holding their hand together, trying not to cry in front of people who don't care. Lily got lucky that day, not because her father was rich, but because someone actually looked at her. That's it. That's the whole thing. You don't need a name on a building to do that. You just need to look up from your phone.